Hello everyone, today I have a very interesting video about a topic that I would imagine many of you are very passionate about. So, today we're going to be talking about Sony Group Corporation and the possible acquisitions or purchases of studios and publishers companies with an asterisk on publishers because we're going to get into the deets later on. So, yeah, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I've made a video in the past where I covered a bunch of different companies that Sony could potentially buy, or I talked about the possibilities of Sony buying many companies, and I went on for about 20 minutes, but in this video I wanted to make a shorter list where I talked about what specifically more likely. Yeah, before we do get started though, I wanted to make sure if you guys like this video, if you guys appreciate the topic, or you guys just want to give your thoughts, make sure to head down in the comments below, leave your thoughts, leave a like of the video if you enjoy it. Obviously, it does support and help me a lot. And with that being said, let's get started right away. One important detail that we should preface this video is by saying how much money does Sony have on hand? How much cash on hand could they just realistically pull out if they had to? What's the max amount? So Sony has 44 billion US dollars in the bank right now. That's how much money they can just take out and spend realistically, but obviously they're not going to do like the max. This is not talking about market cap. The market cap is much higher because it includes all the assets, but yeah, Sony has $44 billion, but this obviously doesn't mean that they can spend all that money on PlayStation alone. They have a whole company to run outside of PlayStation. I should say that I got this data from macrotrends.net, so I'm gonna link all the information. I put this in the description down below, so you guys know where I'm getting my information from. And if there's any correction, you guys can comment down below and let me know. But let's get started with the first studio that I think we should talk about in this list. I have three different categories. I have most likely, I have plausible, and I also have a third category called surprising / not as likely investments that could maybe happen. So that's just, I put it there because many people talk about them, but I don't know what the practicality of it happening is. So we're going to start with the first studio, and that's going to be Bluepoint Games. Now, obviously, this is going to be the one most people agree with probably, and the one most people are expecting to happen sometime in the future, hopefully soon. But why Bluepoint Games? Maybe you don't know why people say it a lot. So Bluepoint Games, they like 90% of their games, they make it exclusively for PlayStation. They always choose PlayStation as the partner, so to publish their games, they always go with them. They love working with them. So at this point, they're kind of an unofficial first-party studio because of how much they work with PlayStation. We can also look at the consistent success that they've had with their games. Demon's Souls 92, Shadow of the Colossus 91, Uncharted Collection 86. They always have a bar for excellence in their games, and it shows. Look at Demon's Souls. That was an excellent launch title for the PS5, and you know that meant a lot for Sony because they managed to carry that launch. They managed to have a successful game to go along with Spider-Man at launch. So obviously Sony looked at that and probably thought, like, yeah, Bluepoint Games is valid. They got what it takes to be part of PlayStation Studios. So in terms of price, let's talk about numbers. How much could Bluepoint Games realistically ask Sony to pay? So I would say $100 million or more, like US dollars obviously, is around how much Bluepoint Games is worth based on my own research, obviously. And if we look at how many employees they have at Bluepoint Games, and also we compare it to how much Insomnia Games had, and you know, looking at all that data, I came to a conclusion that they will probably cost around the ballpark of $100 million. And I think that makes sense. I think based on everything, it's doable. And Sony could definitely purchase them if they wanted to. Or, you know, maybe it's something that they already did and, like, they just haven't announced yet. But either way, maybe we'll find out what happens this year. We'll see. Anyways, moving on to item number 2, we got Housemarque. Housemarque, you guys know Housemarque, obviously. If you didn't, now you know because of Returnal. Returnal just came out a few weeks ago, and it's been doing really great. A lot of people, you know, this is the first AAA action game that Housemarque makes. They were very small developer. this, like, again, that they mostly make arcade games. They also have a long history with PlayStation. So if you look at the PS4 launch, they had Resogun, another excellent game. All of the games have always been great. They have that strive of excellence as well that Sony kind of likes in their studios. And we know Sony doesn't just buy any studio. They're they don't have all the money to do that, but also they love to keep a quality and a bar to uphold. So Housemarque definitely fits that bill. And like I said, they partner with PlayStation all the time as well. So this just makes sense. They're really close at this point, and they just have to put a ring on it. So yeah, $100 million is what I think this would also cost. I would say around 100, but I also think they're slightly smaller than Bluepoint Games, and based on the employee count, they definitely are. They have less employees, Housemarque, but not by much. But yeah, I would say also around $100 million US dollars for Housemarque, but slightly under whatever Bluepoint Games cost. That's just my prediction based, again, on research I did and information I seen. And to the third item in the same category, I know many of you are probably not going to believe this, but under the most likely category, I also have Kadokawa Corporation. And many of you are probably going to be very confused as to why I did that. Kadokawa, they're kind of big, Japanese corporation. If you guys don't know, Kadokawa is the parent company of From Software. They also own two other developers for Kadokawa Future Publishing, which is like a publishing arm / developer for anime games that they have, and also Chunsoft Spike, which is another developer. So why did I say Kadokawa Corporation? They're not particularly cheap. So the reason I say this is because they have a very well-established working relationship with Sony and also Sony Interactive Entertainment, which is PlayStation. They have worked with both. They have worked with Sony for animes and stuff like that and music, and they worked with PlayStation via From Software. From Software has made exclusive games for PlayStation all the way back from PS1 era to Demon's Souls on PS3 and also Bloodborne on PS4. So they have a established, successful working relationship because their games usually do very well. From Software, I would say, is one of the biggest gets. If Sony were to buy a studio and that included From Software, that would be a huge deal in the gaming community because they're very talented and would definitely be something that Sony would like in their studio because of the quality. But another big reason why Sony will be interested in paying the higher price of Kadokawa as a whole is because of anime. So if you guys don't know, Sony has been investing into anime a lot recently. They bought Funimation, then they recently bought Crunchyroll, and they've been all over the place with anime. They're definitely investing a lot, and Kadokawa owns a lot of novels, a lot of IP for animes, and it would just strengthen their empire in the anime world for Sony. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for anime and gaming for Sony to buy Kadokawa Corporation. Now, if we're looking at numbers, Kadokawa is worth about $2 billion in US dollars. If you look this information up in the Japanese stock exchange, it's like if you translate it to US dollars, it is about $2 billion US dollars. So it's definitely going to be something costly, but I think Sony would be willing to pay the price. It's also worth noting that Sony already has a stake at this company for 1.9%. So basically, they own around 2% of the company already. So you already know that there's an established not only working relationship, but now they also have a stake at the company. So it's just very clear that once, and this happened recently, this happened around February 4th, I believe. So you already can understand that from this, especially how recent it is, Sony intends on working a lot closer with this company, the same way they invested into Discord and now they're going to integrate it. I believe them investing into Kadokawa is also a sign that they plan to keep on working with this company. And I think eventually it could definitely lead to an acquisition. I just think it makes sense for what Sony is and what they do. And yeah, I just think it makes a lot of sense. But you guys definitely may have your own thoughts. And now we're going to move to the second category, and that's going to be plausible acquisitions that aren't necessarily hinted at but something that is in the path. It's something that could realistically happen, something that wouldn't be too shocking, and also something that Sony could definitely afford. So we're gonna be looking at Warner Bros. Studios. So if you guys haven't heard recent news, Warner Bros. Is splitting up. When AT&T decided to merge with Discovery, they decided that they were gonna sell some of their games division studios. So before they were planning to sell the whole division, but now they're only gonna sell part of them. So this is not gonna be like the $4 billion estimate price from earlier rumors. This is gonna be way less because not all the studios are gonna be sold, only some of them. For example, if Sony were to be able to get their hands on NetherRealm, I think Sony would be interested in them. If you guys don't know, Sony's very interested in fighting games all of a sudden, because they've been doing a lot of tournaments on their channel where they live stream it, and they recently bought Evo, the Evolution esport tournament. So yeah, that's the biggest tournament for fighting games in the world, and they made a joint acquisition. So yeah, it's very interesting. Sony's definitely interested in the esports with fighting games. So I think if they could get their hands on NetherRealm with Mortal Kombat, it would be a huge gap for them, and they probably want to do that. But other than that, I'm not too sure how much this would even cost, because we don't know how much these studios will go for. We also don't know what the studios will come with. Would they come with the IP? Would they come without the IP? Would they only sell some IP and not the studios? There's so many questions, but I think Warner Bros. Definitely something, especially with recent news, that Sony could be interested on. Now, if we move on to the second item in the second category, we have Arc System Works. Now, Arc System Works, you guys, a lot of you may know for Guilty Gear Strive, and that's gonna come out, and also Blaze Blue and all those games. So yeah, they have a very good working relationship with Sony. All of their games practically come to PlayStation. You can't say the same about Xbox and Nintendo, because not all their games go to those platforms. But when it comes to PlayStation and PC, all of their games always go to PlayStation and PC, and a lot of times PlayStation even has the benefit of being console exclusive, like the upcoming Guilty Gear Strive, which is their biggest fighting game so far. So yeah, they have great IP, like I mentioned, and you know, they love working with Sony. They also are in the style of anime, so maybe if Sony and like Aniplex are interested in working together, and also to bolster that first party like fighting game, because realistically we don't have any first party like fighting games for Sony. So maybe they want to do that to bring them into the first party, and also include them in the Evo tournament. So that'd be really cool, and a possibility of something that could happen. Now, if we're looking at price, they definitely cost less than $400 million. And the reason why I say less than 400 million is because they're not as big as a studio, so they could range. So the max that they could go is 400 million, and I'm comparing that to CyberConnect because I got information that that studio might be around $400 million. So yeah, making a segue, CyberConnect 2 is the next studio in this category that I think could happen. And the reason why, again, same thing, CyberConnect, and they're actually partnering with Sony right now to make a Demon Slayer game, which is gonna be multi-platform, interesting enough. But there is that connection with Aniplex and Sony. Well, Aniplex is owned by Sony, but Aniplex and CyberConnect making a game about anime. And if Sony really wants to pursue that relationship in the future, and as they keep growing in the anime world, they might want a developer that handles games and multimedia IP, which is like IP that goes from anime to movies to games, and that way their IP becomes way more valuable. So with CyberConnect and even Arc System Works, those two companies could definitely aid in adding a fighting game like first party like IP to PlayStation, and also including Evolution as a first party studio. And talking about the price, again, 400 million, something that Sony I think can afford. It is expensive, but something Sony can afford. Now, to getting closer to the end, I'm gonna kind of brush by these because I don't think these are very likely. So as the category says, surprising and not as likely investments, but that could maybe happen simply because there'll be interest from Sony doing something with these, but maybe the price is too much, or maybe the companies aren't interested. So let's start with the Konami IP. So in this case, it's not about the price. In this case, the Konami IPs is mostly about Konami. Konami could very easily license the IPs to Sony, and that way they make licensee money, and they don't have to do much of anything else. They just get money, and that way they're winning without having to do much. Sony might be fine with this. They don't necessarily have to buy the IPs from Konami. So that's why if Sony is going to buy them, I'm not too sure this could be something that takes place, simply because Konami probably wouldn't be interested in selling. But as I made many videos about this, Sony is likely working with them, so they're probably going to be licensing some of their IPs, like Silent Hill. I'm expecting this to be revealed this year, hopefully in the next event that Sony has. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. If they buy the IPs from Konami, that would be very surprising. I'll be shocked if Konami just gave it away like that, Well, not give it away, but just sell it. Yeah, we're going to move on to the next one, which is Square Enix. Now, Square Enix, I know what many of you are going to say. Square Enix is too expensive, too much money. They're too big. Sony can't afford that. They're not Microsoft. And I partly agree with that, but realistically, I believe Sony can afford them. Because if we look at that number, $44 billion cash at hand, Sony has the raw cash to buy it. Now, is it smart for them to do it? That's a different question. Will they do it? Is it practical? We don't know. Sony already has a great relationship with Square Enix, and they don't necessarily need to purchase them to keep that working relationship, such as the Final Fantasy games being timed exclusive on PlayStation. So yeah, I mean, Sony loves the IP from Square Enix. That's why they make deals all the time. But I don't know if they would necessarily be interested in buying them. And Square Enix recently said as well that they're not selling anything, and they're not particularly interested in selling. So I'm not sure this could happen. They, according to the market right now, Square Enix goes for about $6 billion US. So I mean, it's definitely expensive for Sony, but maybe Sony could buy them if we're talking about math and numbers and how much money like realistically have. Now, in the last one to end this video, Capcom. Could Capcom be bought by Sony? Now, I'm gonna just say I don't think so, but they do have great IP. They are very big on the gaming world. They have Street Fighters. They have Resident Evil, which Sony partnered to market the game. Have exclusive demos and stuff like that. So there is a relationship there, but they're too expensive. They're $8 billion, and frankly, I don't think that that could happen. So anyways, those are all those studios that I kind of wanted to cover in this video. Let me know your thoughts on it. Like I said, Capcom, Square Enix, Konami IPs, Sony buying them, I don't think it's happening. The other ones are more likely, especially Bluepoint Games, Housemarque, and Kadokawa. I feel like those make a lot of sense. Those are like in what Sony will be interested in doing and could possibly do and afford. So yeah, I appreciate if you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And thank you guys for everything. Peace.